Let me ask you something. When was the last time you lifted the lid off your toilet tank? Not the seat, not the bowl lid. I mean that heavy porcelain lid on the back of the toilet that most people haven't touched since the day it was installed. If you're like most homeowners, the answer is probably never. Or maybe once when the toilet wouldn't stop running. Meanwhile, you've been scrubbing the bowl faithfully for years, maybe decades, and the whole time there's a hidden chamber sitting right behind you full of things you really don't want to think about. Tonight, I'm going to show you a simple 2-minute trick using ordinary hydrogen peroxide that will clean that tank, kill what's growing in there, and actually give you a stronger flush by morning. Plus, stick around to the end because I'll show you why those popular drop-in bleach tablets are secretly destroying your toilet from the inside out, and what to check while you've got that lid off that could save you from a costly leak. This is one of those home maintenance tasks that almost nobody talks about, and that's exactly why it matters. Your toilet tank is the source of every single flush. Whatever is living in that tank is flowing through the bowl, through the rim jets, and into the water you see every day. The good news is that fixing this takes about 2 minutes of effort, costs almost nothing, and the results are honestly pretty dramatic. So, let's start by understanding what's actually happening inside that tank. Go ahead and lift the lid off your toilet tank right now, if you can. Set it down gently on a towel on the floor because that porcelain is heavy and it will crack your tile if you drop it. Now, take a look inside. If your tank has never been cleaned, or if it's been more than a few months, here's what you're probably going to see. Along the walls of the tank, there's going to be a slimy film. It might be pinkish, it might be dark gray, it might even be black, depending on how long it's been there. That slime is bacterial buildup, and in many cases it includes a bacteria called Serratia marcescens, which is responsible for that pinkish ring you sometimes see at the waterline in your bowl. Above the waterline on the inside walls, you'll likely spot dark streaks of mold and mildew. That tank is a perfect environment for mold. It's dark, it's damp, it never dries out, and nobody ever disturbs it. Now look at the rubber flapper down at the bottom. That's the piece that lifts when you push the handle and lets water rush into the bowl. There's a good chance it's coated in a grayish or greenish gunk. Same thing with your fill valve, that tall piece on the left side of the tank. The mineral scale and slime coat those parts over time, and that buildup actually interferes with how they work. A gunked-up flapper doesn't seal properly, which means water slowly leaks past it into the bowl. That's often the cause of a toilet that runs on its own every few minutes. And here's the part most people never connect. All of that bacteria, all of that slime, all of those mineral deposits are sitting in the water that feeds every flush. That water flows through small openings under the rim of your bowl called rim jets. When those rim jets get clogged with gunk migrating down from the tank, your flush gets weaker. You lose that strong swirling action. So a dirty tank isn't just a hygiene issue. It's actually a performance issue. If you have well water, everything I just described is going to be significantly worse. Well, water carries more minerals, more iron, more sediment, and it feeds bacterial growth much faster than treated municipal water. I've seen well-watered toilet tanks that look like something out of a horror movie after just 6 months of neglect. So If you're on well water, pay extra close attention because this treatment is going to make a real difference for you. Now let's talk about what you need. This is about as simple as a supply list gets. You need 1 bottle of 3% hydrogen peroxide, which is the standard concentration you'll find at any drugstore or grocery store for about $1. That's the same brown bottle you probably already have in your medicine cabinet. You do not want the stronger concentrations that are sold for industrial use. Stick with the regular 3% household variety. You'll also want a toilet brush or a long-handled scrub brush that you can dedicate to the tank. I keep a separate brush just for this job, so I'm not cross-contaminating with the one I use in the bowl. And grab an old towel to set that tank lid on. That's it. No specialty chemicals, no expensive cleaners, no protective equipment. Just peroxide, a brush, and a towel. Before you pour anything in, take a quick look at the water level in your tank. There should be a fill line marked on the inside wall of the tank or on the overflow tube. The water should be sitting right at or just below that line. If it's significantly higher or lower, make a mental note because we'll address that later. You don't need to shut off the water supply for this treatment. You don't need to empty the tank. You're going to work with the water that's already in there. Here's what you do. Tonight, right before you go to bed, pour 1 to 2 cups of that 3% hydrogen peroxide directly into the toilet tank. Not the bowl, the tank. Just lift the lid, pour it right in, and set the lid back on. I usually use about 2 cups, which is roughly half of a standard 16-ounce brown bottle. Pour it slowly so you don't splash, and try to get some of it along the walls of the tank where you can see that slime buildup. Now here's the important part. Do not flush the toilet until morning. You want to let that peroxide sit in the tank for at least 6 to 8 hours. That's why bedtime is the perfect time to do this. Most people aren't using their hall bathroom or guest bathroom overnight anyway, so it's the easiest time to leave a toilet alone. What happens overnight is genuinely satisfying. Hydrogen peroxide is an oxidizer. When it comes in contact with organic material like bacteria, mold, and slime, it starts breaking it down. You'll actually see tiny bubbles forming on the walls and surfaces inside the tank. That fizzing action is the peroxide working, lifting grime and killing the biological growth. By morning, a lot of that slime and buildup will have loosened from the tank walls and settled into the water. The peroxide also neutralizes that musty, swampy odor that a neglected tank develops. It's deodorizing while it disinfects. And because it breaks down into just water and oxygen, it's completely safe for your plumbing, your septic system, and your toilet's internal components. By the way, if you're finding this advice helpful, you should know it's just a small sample of what I've put into my new book, 100 Old House Fixes That Save You Thousands. It's packed with practical old house fixes that can help you avoid expensive repair bills. To grab your copy, you can scan the QR code on the screen right now, or just use the first link in the description below. All right, let's continue. The next morning, come back to that toilet and lift the lid one more time. This is the payoff moment, and it's honestly pretty impressive the first time you do it. You're going to see that the water looks cloudy or discolored. That discoloration is all the grime, slime, and mineral deposits that the peroxide loosened overnight. The tank walls that were coated in that slimy film will look noticeably cleaner already. Now grab your dedicated tank brush and give the inside walls a light scrub. You don't need to put a lot of elbow grease into it. The peroxide did the hard work while you slept. You're just sweeping away what it loosened. Pay extra attention to the area right at the waterline where buildup tends to be the heaviest. Scrub around the fill valve and the overflow tube gently. If there's stubborn scale that doesn't come off easily, don't force it. That's mineral buildup, and it may take 2 or 3 monthly treatments to fully break down, especially if this tank hasn't been cleaned in years. Once you've done your light scrub, go ahead and flush the toilet. Watch the water drain and refill. You should already notice the water in the tank looks cleaner than it did before. If the buildup was really heavy, you can repeat the treatment the next night for a second round. 2 consecutive nights of peroxide will handle even the worst cases I've seen, short of actual hard water staining that requires a different approach. Now let's talk about something most people never think about, and this is where you're really going to see a difference. Under the rim of your toilet bowl, there are small angled holes called rim jets. On most toilets, there are anywhere from 12 to 24 of them spaced around the entire underside of the rim. When you flush, water from the tank flows through these jets and creates that swirling action in the bowl. Over time, the bacteria, slime, and mineral deposits from a dirty tank migrate down and partially clog these rim jets. When they're clogged, you get a weak, lazy flush instead of that strong spiral. After your peroxide treatment, a lot of that gunk has been loosened and flushed through. But if you want to make sure those jets are fully clear, here's what I do. Take a small hand mirror and hold it inside the bowl, angled upward, so you can actually see the rim jets. You'll be able to tell if they're clogged because they'll look crusty or partially blocked. If they are, take a piece of stiff wire like a straightened coat hanger or even a small Allen wrench and gently poke each jet to clear the mineral buildup. Then flush again. The difference in flush strength after clearing those jets is something people genuinely get excited about. I've had homeowners tell me they thought they needed a new toilet when all they really needed was to clean their rim jets. Now I need to talk to you about something important, and this might save you from an expensive repair down the road. A lot of people think the way to keep a toilet tank clean is to drop one of those chlorine bleach tablets into it. You know the ones I'm talking about. Those blue or white pucks that you drop in the tank and they dissolve slowly over weeks. They seem convenient. They keep the water blue. They smell like a swimming pool, and they are quietly destroying your toilet from the inside out. Here's what happens. Those tablets contain concentrated chlorine or bleach compounds that sit in constant contact with the rubber and plastic parts inside your tank. Your flapper is made of rubber. Your gaskets and seals are made of rubber. The diaphragm inside your fill valve is made of rubber. Concentrated chlorine degrades rubber. It makes it stiff, brittle, warped, and eventually it cracks. I have personally replaced more flappers and fill valves damaged by drop-in bleach tablets than I can count. It's one of the most common causes of a phantom running toilet, where the toilet randomly runs for a few seconds every hour, because the flapper has been eaten away and no longer seals. And here's what really gets people. Most toilet manufacturers specifically warn against using these tablets, and using them can void your warranty. Kohler, American Standard, Toto, They all have warnings about chlorine-based tank additives right in their documentation. So you use a $3 tablet thinking you're maintaining your toilet, and instead you end up paying $150 or more for a fill valve and flapper replacement, plus the wasted water from months of slow leaking. Hydrogen peroxide at 3% concentration does not do this. It sanitizes, it kills mold and bacteria, it loosens scale, and it breaks down into water and oxygen. It doesn't sit in there for weeks attacking your rubber parts. You put it in, it works overnight. You flush it away in the morning. That's the critical difference. It does the job without the damage. If you've been using bleach tablets and you're wondering if the damage is already done, pull that tablet out tonight. Do the peroxide treatment. And while you're in there, check your flapper. If it feels stiff, if it's warped, if it leaves black residue on your fingers when you touch it, it's time for a new one. A flapper costs about $5 to $8 and takes about 2 minutes to replace. That's a lot cheaper than the water bill from a toilet that's been silently leaking for months. Let's talk about some common issues you might run into and how to handle them. First, if you do the overnight peroxide treatment and the tank still looks dirty in the morning, don't be discouraged. If this tank hasn't been cleaned in years, especially with well water, one treatment may not be enough. Just repeat the process the next night. 2 or 3 consecutive treatments will handle even the worst cases. Second, if you notice the peroxide doesn't seem to fizz much when you pour it in, check the expiration date on the bottle. Hydrogen peroxide loses its potency over time, especially if the bottle has been opened and sitting in your cabinet for a year or more. Fresh peroxide in a sealed bottle works best. A quick test is to pour a small amount into a dark sink. If it fizzes on contact with any residue, it's still active. Third, if you have really stubborn orange or rust-colored staining, that's typically iron in your water, and it's especially common with well water. Peroxide will help with the biological growth, but iron staining may need a product specifically designed for iron removal. Look for a toilet tank cleaner that's made for rust and iron stains, and make sure it's labeled safe for rubber and plastic tank components. Fourth, if after cleaning the tank and clearing the rim jets, your toilet still flushes weakly, the issue might be your water level. Check that fill line again. If the water level in your tank is more than an inch below the fill line, your tank isn't holding enough water to generate a strong flush. You can adjust this by turning the screw on top of your fill valve, a quarter turn at a time, then flush and check. The water should refill to right at that fill line. Fifth, if you smell a sulfur or rotten egg odor coming from the tank, that's hydrogen sulfide, and it's a sign of anaerobic bacteria in your water supply. The peroxide treatment will knock it back temporarily, but if it keeps returning, you may want to have your water tested, especially if you're on well water. A whole house treatment may be needed to address the source. Here's your maintenance schedule, and I want to keep this simple because if it's complicated, you won't do it. Once a month, pour 1 to 2 cups of 3% hydrogen peroxide into the tank before bed. Don't flush until morning. That's it. 2 minutes of effort, about 50 cents in peroxide, once a month. I do mine on the 1st of every month so I don't forget. Some folks set a reminder on their phone. If you're on well water or you notice buildup returning faster, you can bump it to every 2 or 3 weeks. But for most people on municipal water, Monthly is perfect. Think of it the same way you think about changing your furnace filter. It's a small task that prevents big problems. Now, for that bonus tip I promised you at the beginning. Since you already have the tank lid off, take 30 seconds to inspect your flapper. This is something most people never do until the toilet starts running on its own, and by then you've already wasted a significant amount of water. Press down on the flapper gently with your finger. It should feel soft and flexible, like a rubber ball. If it feels stiff, rigid, or crunchy, it's deteriorating and needs to be replaced soon. Now lift it up and look at the seat it rests on, that ring at the bottom of the tank. Run your finger around it. It should be smooth and clean. If there's mineral buildup on that seat, the flapper can't seal properly even if the flapper itself is still in good shape. A little scrub with your tank brush and some peroxide will clean that seat right up. Here's the real pro move. While you've got the flapper lifted, look at the underside of it. If you see warping, pitting, or if black residue comes off on your fingers, replace it now. Don't wait. A new flapper is one of the cheapest parts in plumbing, usually $5 to $8, and it's one of the easiest to install. You just unhook the old one from the ears on the overflow tube, hook the new one on, and attach the chain to the flush handle lever with about ½ an inch of slack. The whole job takes less than 2 minutes. Doing this flapper check every time you do your monthly peroxide treatment means you'll catch a failing flapper before it starts wasting water. Over a year, a leaking flapper can waste thousands of gallons. So that 30-second inspection is genuinely worth your time. Before you go, I want to make sure you know about my new book, 100 Old House Fixes That Save You. Thousands. It goes deeper than we can in a single video, with practical fixes, warning signs, and simple steps for older homes. If you want to avoid expensive repair bills before you call a plumber, this book is for you. Just scan the QR code on the screen or click the link in the description to get your copy. Thanks for watching. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next one. Tonight, go lift that tank lid, pour in your peroxide, and let it do its thing while you sleep. Tomorrow morning, you're going to wonder why you didn't do this years ago.